Now, it seems like the issues with Yotta Bank are finally over. People are going to be finally getting their money out of it because Evolve, the bank that Yotta was actually using, stepped in. Let's go to the computer and talk more about it. All right, like I said earlier, this is coming directly from Evolve, the bank that Yotta was using. Because remember, Yotta was simply just a fintech, and the middleman was Synapse. So Evolve Bank announces processes to return to Synapse the brokerage end user funds. Now, this is expected to distribute funds in November, so this will be happening shortly. Emails are being sent out, I think, in little waves. So if you haven't received an email now, you should receive it from, now to November. Now let's go over this article. Today announced the distribution and payment process to return funds held by Evolve, the Synapse brokerage end users impacted by the Synapse bankruptcy. And what Evolve seems to be using is an external service. It's called Rust Consulting to essentially help with this customer service. Now, here's the main information on how you're going to get your money back. On November 4th, 2024, Rust will send emails out to the end users who have a balance at Evolve. Now, remember, people are getting their emails out earlier. Some have already gotten their email, and they're going to be directing them to this website, Reconciliation by Evolve. This is a website that Evolve recently created. End users will log in with the information that's provided in that email, and once logged in and authenticated, end users will be provided with their Synapse ecosystem balance and showing essentially how much money that Evolve is tracking, how much money that they have. And the payout will happen in two different ways. And those two ways are dependent if you have $100 or more. Now, first, with $100 or more, you can receive your email with instructions of simply paying out different payment methods. So you can get a wire transfer, you can get a ACH transfer. So you're going to get different ways of essentially how you're going to be paid out. You can do ACH transfer, you can do wire, you can do check. There's going to be different options that it's showing, and the payments will be sent, it says, within approximately 7 days. And if you do nothing right here, the end users that do not respond by December 4th will receive a check in the mail. And this is likely going to be with the address that you already have on file with the end user, who's Yotta. And with less than $100, you'll essentially be only directed through an online payment service, which it doesn't say much more. It could just simply be like a PayPal link. I don't know what that's going to be. But end users who do not claim their payment by December 4th will also receive a check. So if you do nothing and your Yotta Bank address is up to date, you'll simply receive a check in the mail before Christmas. And it even says it right here, any end users with a balance at Evolve who wishes to receive their balance by check will also can get one if they request it. But if you don't receive an email by November 14th, again, they're giving us a future out date. So if you don't have an email right now, you can just wait a little bit. They likely are just pushing out and making sure that they're, crossing their T's and dotting their I's. But if you have until November 14th. But if you haven't gotten it by November 14th, what you're going to do is you're going to reach out to these different parties right here atop. It shows the end users may call this number right here. And it's likely going to be one of those, bank trees. So essentially just make sure that you have plenty of time available. It's probably going to, waste like 2 hours. And Evolve even made this long list of FAQs. But I think one of the best ones to visually understand how essentially this collapsed in the first place is that right here, the fintech platforms go with the middleman that go with the bank. And there's going to be a takeaway that I'm going to give at the end of this video, but the fintech platform is essentially with Yotta. Now, there are other banks, but Yotta was one of the bigger ones and essentially the largest ones because, Graham Stephan and a lot of people were pushing it online. And their middleman, Synapse, and the actual bank Evolve. So there wasn't just Yotta Bank. It was 3 entities who were all working with the actual bank, Evolve. So you had Yotta working with Synapse, who is working essentially with Evolve. And Evolve is the one that's sort of trying to fix this mess because remember, it's a bank, so it actually has to follow rules. Now, if you had any questions, you can go down this long list. It literally is like a detailed, 38 separate questions, which, at the end of the day, is probably going to answer 90% of questions that people have. And there's even this video coming directly from the founder of Evolve Bank, which at the end of the day, they are fixing this issue. It did take forever, which is still ridiculous that the government didn't even step in because I feel like a lot of fintechs essentially use this kind of format. So having this something, take 6 months is still ridiculous.
Hello, I'm Scott Lenore, founder of Evolve Bank and Trust. I want to share some important information about the Evolve process to return funds held at Evolve to the Synapse brokerage end users impacted by the Synapse bankruptcy. First, let me thank you for your patience and understanding. I realize how frustrating the Synapse reconciliation process has been to everyone involved. Frustrating for us at Evolve, frustrating for our fintech partners, and more importantly, frustrating for the end users. Evolve was one of multiple banks working with Synapse when it filed for bankruptcy. These banks were hired by Synapse, and each bank performed various payment services for Synapse. The number of banks increased the complexity of the reconciliation. From the start, Evolve's goal has been to return the right amounts to the right end users as quickly as possible, and in a responsible manner based upon accurate accounting. Unfortunately, Synapse records of end user balances were deeply flawed and unreliable. Knowing how important it is that we get this right, we initiated a detailed process of reconstructing end user balances. We hired an independent global expert services and advisory firm that specializes in complex reconciliation projects. This firm and Cura Consulting reconstructed end user balances using Synapse transaction level data instead of their inaccurate ledger. In addition, our expert diligently sorted millions of end user transactions in both Synapse and Evolve's records to arrive at account level balances at Evolve in which we can all have confidence. This was a significant undertaking, and it has taken more time than anyone would have liked. But we firmly believe it is in everyone's best interest to be as thorough as possible. And ultimately, we confirmed that Synapse's record of end user balances in many instances was wrong. And so I know this has taken a long time, but it was a responsible thing to do, and we are glad we did it. We are now in a position to begin the process of returning funds to those with Synapse brokerage balances at Evolve. We have launched a website, reconciliationbyevolve.com, which includes details on the process to return funds, including payment options and information on disputes. We've also established a dedicated team of professionals to answer your questions and provide additional information. End users can call our reconciliation resource team at 877-873-0008. As I close, let me just say once more how much we appreciate your patience throughout this process. We hope you can appreciate our efforts to balance getting payments made quickly with getting those payments right. Thank you.
Now, a few things to look out for are easily going to be scams. Do not reach out and work with third parties. Do not work with a separate agent that Evolve did not tell you to. Only use the services and the numbers that are provided and only use those. Now, nothing's going to happen by DMs. I promise you, no one's going to be asking you to pay for your own money. I made a live stream talking about the separate ways that the FBI are talking about financial scams. And right now is probably going to be an easy time where even in the subreddit where I talked about a lot of the users, some other users may be just scammers in a disguise. So make sure you look out for that kind of process. Now, there's a few takeaways to look for this entire situation. Number one is obviously going to be foot stomping using a legit bank. And when I mean that, I mean something that's established and reputable for decades, right? If your bank uses a lottery gambling, style offer, while it may be cool, there's probably reasons why established banks don't do that, right? It's only an enticement to bring you in. Graham Stephan should have made a video about this. I still haven't even seen anything from him, which is crazy. And I mean, that whole gambling game is still active right on the homepage for Yotta, but Yotta has an update or has made an update in their logs, which shows, October 23rd, and they're just essentially referring you to Evolve, which this should be plastered on their homepage because it affects all of the users. Now, if you're a Yotta user, let me know down in the comments, have you got an email? How long has your money been locked up? How much money you had? But at the end of the day, I just want to keep this kind of information live. Peace.